Hey everybody, what's up? Mr. Miller here. I hope you're having a great day today. And in this video, what we're going to do is have a brief introduction to multiplying and dividing rational expressions. Before we do that, let's think back to last week. Last week we looked at simply simplifying rational expressions. And what did I say was the critical skill that you needed to have to simplify rational expressions? I said you have to be able to factor stuff. If you're still having trouble with factoring, you need to come see me or get help from somebody because we're going to be using this skill repeatedly this week, next week, and possibly the week after. So I know I've kind of been banging this drum a lot about you need to be able to factor, you need to be able to factor. I keep saying that, but if you're just listening to it and then ignoring it, things are not going to get better. You've got to take action. So if you can't factor, get help from me, get help from somebody. You need to be able to factor. All right, so let's get right into it. Multiplying and dividing rational expressions. Here's going to be our general steps. The general steps are actually very similar. Actually, they're identical. They're identical to what we were doing when we were simplifying rational expressions. So how did we do that? How did we simplify rational expressions? We did two things, right? We would factor, 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 and then we would cancel, cancel, cancel. And the cool thing is we're going to be doing the same thing for multiplying and dividing rational expressions. We're essentially doing the same thing. Now, there is a slight caveat to that, and the caveat is if the problem you're given is division, we're going to have to tweak that a little bit, but we'll get into that in the next slide, and then we'll crystallize that with some examples in the second video that you're going to watch and take notes on. But you're doing the same thing. It's just now there's going to be more stuff to factor in a single problem, but that's going to lend itself to there possibly being more factors to cancel at the end of that factoring. Though again, I want to say it's not a guarantee. You could factor, 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 and at the end of that factoring, nothing or hardly anything cancels. And that is a possibility. All right? Now, the next slide, what we're going to do is, I made this type of flow chart for you. And so you're going to want to have your pen or pencil ready and copy this down. All right, so let's do it. Okay, so let's say you're given a problem. The first thing you're going to want to do is ask yourself, is the problem that I've been given division? All right, is it division? And the best case scenario is the answer to that question is no. In other words, the problem that you're given is multiplication. If you're given a multiplication problem, what that means is you're just going to do what you're used to doing with simplifying rational expressions. You're going to factor everything, all the numerators, all the denominators, and after we factor, what do? We cancel, 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 right? Now, it is important to discuss what things you can cancel. So obviously, okay, common factors, but they have to be in separate levels. And that's how I want us to think of this. So think of the top part of the fraction being the top level and the lower part of the fraction being the bottom level. So like main level, basement, something like that. You can only cancel common factors if they are in separate levels. They can be in different fractions, that's okay. You could have a common factor that's in the upper part of the first fraction and you have another factor that matches it in the lower part of the second fraction. Those things could be canceled, no problem there because they're in separate levels. So I refer to that as diagonal canceling. Now, you can never cancel factors that are on the same level. Something in the upstairs with something in the upstairs, or something in the downstairs with something in the downstairs. I don't care if they match. You can't do that. They have to be in separate levels of the problem. All right, very important to remember that. Now, let's say that you do that factoring, you do the canceling. What do we do after that? We rewrite our leftovers. Hopefully there's going to be some things left over. If everything cancels out, the answer would just be 1. But that's something else that rarely happens. Whatever's left over, you're going to rewrite that, and that's going to be your answer. Okay? With me so far? What if the problem that you're given is division? You're given a problem, you ask yourself, is this problem division? And you say, yes, it is. Well, division we have to tweak a little bit. And let's look at that tweaking process. So here's how we tweak it. What we're going to do is what I like to call copy, switch, flip. The first fraction, you don't touch. You leave alone. You just copy it. Copy the first fraction. The second step, you're going to switch your division to multiplication. And the nice thing about that is we've already gone through the process for what happens if you have a multiplication problem. You already know how to do that. You're going to factor, 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 cancel, cancel, cancel. But first we have to tweak the problem from division to multiplication. And then because you're changing division to multiplication, you have to counteract that with another move, I'll call it, okay? And that move is to flip the second fraction. You're going to turn it upside down. And it is always the second fraction that you flip, never the first. The first fraction you just copy. Copy it, switch division to multiplication, flip the second fraction, and then we're in business, baby. After you have done that, you're going to loop back up to this process. Factor everything. Cancel out common factors, and then rewrite the leftovers. Okay, all right. In the next video, what we're going to do is do some examples together to model this flowchart and really nail this out of the park. Okay, so let's do it. What a great audience. I'll be here all week. Be sure to tip your waitress. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Get ready to watch the next video. Thanks so much. Bye.